From 3.7 million invested to bankrupt in 7 months. I'm not even sure which game he's talking about here, but let's check out this video from Big Fright. See what it's about. Have a look.
Well, much like yesterday's video, we have another game shutting its doors for good. Unlike yesterday's video, though, this game hadn't even released yet, which all things considered is probably a good thing because nobody has lost out on another early access failure purchase, and we get to keep our...
True. I suppose if it flops before it launches, then you've not missed out on anything, have you? Like it was never planned in the first place.
Our money. But this one is particularly heartbreaking for me because over the years I have spoken with some of the developers, participated in multiple playtests, and actually saw a game in its...
Okay, just from the trailer, I'm going to assume it's obviously a shooter. Are we looking at an extraction shooter, an extraction hero shooter, a hero shooter? It's probably not going to be a battle royale. That fad's gone now. But the new fad really is hero and extraction shooters, isn't it? That's what everybody's trying to jump on now.
Very early stages have a gameplay loop that was fun, tactical, and competitive. And
oh, tactical. So maybe a hero shooter, something similar to like a Siege, Valorant kind of game.
Not even
That's
that
a hard space to get into.
The game I'm speaking about today is Alara Prime, and the biggest problem this game...
I think I remember hearing about this actually. I think it is. It's like a 5v5 round-based shooter. I'm pretty sure it is, which is an incredibly hard space to get into. You know, trying to get into that CSGO, Valorant, Rainbow Six Siege space isn't easy to do at all because you've got to be firing on all cylinders, really. You got to get the gameplay feeling good. You've got to get it balanced. Map design's got to be on point. You've really got to hit every angle perfectly, I think, to even be considered looking at for people who play those sort of games. Because when you've got games like Valorant and CSGO, there are just these incredibly polished games that are massive now. To tempt people into playing something like this, you've got to be firing on all cylinders. Yeah, what's up, Neil?
Had was as soon as people saw it, they compare it to many other shooters on the market, mainly Valorant, Counter-Strike, and Overwatch, and they call it a clone of either one they feel like that day.
It's gonna happen though. You know, it's like if you launch a battle royale, you're gonna get compared to other battle royales. So if you launch that sort of game, it's inevitable. It's a shame as us as humans that we are that surface level, but it's also like it's a fair statement.
Valorant due to the actual gunplay itself, Counter-Strike due to the nature of the map design and the overall game speed and feel, and
it looks
Overwatch
quite bland
due to its brighter, vibrant visuals that clearly means hero shooter.
I suppose it's quite solid with the colours. I don't know if I call that vibrant personally. I'd say like the solid blocks of colour, which I suppose some people would argue is vibrant, but looks pretty brown to me.
But you would be wrong to think it's a clone of any of these titles. What this game is a mashup blend of what I would consider Valorant style gunplay, in which you have to kind of be...
I don't know if that looks Valorant style gunplay to me. It looks a little bit stiff, but I've literally seen about 3 seconds of it. So, but you know, one thing that Valorant does well is gunplay. If you like that sort of gunplay, if you're looking for something like Call of Duty, then definitely not.
Standing still and taking, you know, slow pieing corners and approaches to that, but also combined with Rainbow Six Siege. It's as if you were to take Valorant and take away the hero element. Like, yeah, there are classes with abilities, but it's not to the level that a Valorant is.
So it's a hero shooter like Valorant then, isn't it, really? Just because they're muted or neutered, it doesn't mean that it's not there. It just means that they're not as unique, I guess, and probably not as game impacting individually.
Is where it's over the top, throwing knives, diving around. It's not anything like that. It's more along the lines of a Rainbow Six Siege. There's tactics, there's breaching of walls, there's...
Rainbow Six has got insane though now, hasn't it, with some of the operators? Bearing in mind I haven't played it for a long time, but I'm pretty sure there's some crazy stuff in Siege now.
C4s, there's a bomb plant mode that essentially takes 3 teams of 4 and puts them against one
Okay,
another.
so that's the difference, is 3
team
teams.
who is obviously defending the bomb site, and then you have 2 teams that are both
Groundbreaking.
attacking the bomb site, and everybody is trying to capture the site for themselves. And it was just so competitive. It was so much fun. No respawn game mode, just like if you were to take Counter-Strike, add a
See, like, I love Big Fry, but he says they're like people comparing it to these other games and then goes on to make comparisons with the mechanics that are in the game to these other games because ultimately it's comparable.
another team into the mix and then have a bomb plant mode. It was fucking sick. And I felt like it was one of the best competitive shooters that I have played in probably the last 5 to 6 years.
That's a big statement. Obviously, it's a subjective viewpoint. That's a big statement, considering we've had things like Valorant launch in the last couple of years. Well, the last 4 years now, is it? 2020 came out, isn't it? Damn, that's gone fast.
That isn't Rainbow Six, that isn't Counter-Strike, that is something fucking new. And holy fuck, like it's over. The gameplay you guys are seeing is me exploring.
Okay, it looks a little bit more colourful there.
For the last.
Again, actually, I wouldn't use the term colourful. It's sharp in how CS and Valorant is in terms of, it's not that it's bland, but there's a lot of solid colours, isn't there? You know what I mean? It's not like a Call of Duty where it's trying to look really intricate. It's probably designed to run on a lot of systems, basically, because you know that's what you want if you're making something competitive. For one, because you want it to run really well, and 2, you want as many people to be able to get access to it as well. But I don't know if I'd use the term colourful. I suppose it is bright. But I wouldn't call it vibrant.
Time, because as of June 23rd, this is the final.
It looks like a sci-fi
for Alara Prime.
4-man
This is a game that I've
CS:GO.
been following for the last 2 to 3 years. This is a game that I've streamed on multiple occasions during multiple playtests, and I've had just such a fucking blast playing. And for those who don't know, the developers.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't compare the gunplay in this to Valorant. Not at all. Yeah, what's going on, Chaz? Definitely not.
Studio behind Alara Prime, Fall Damage was actually started by a bunch of old industry veterans who worked at DICE on the old Battlefield games. So much like Embark Studios, who went on to obviously create the Finals as well as Arc Raiders, this was another DICE branch off from some of the OGs. And earlier this year, back in May, the developers, Fall Damage, were essentially called bankrupt by their owner, Fragbyte Group. The article came out May 23rd, so about a month ago, literally a month ago today.
That's a regular thing in gaming now, isn't it? I think a lot of it comes down to, though, like bad planning, not having a roadmap set up and goals set up, and again, bad planning, bad execution.
So I'm guessing they had 30 days.
Obviously, I've never developed a game in my life, but, you know, it's a complicated, hard thing to do. And I just think people don't plan well enough. And obviously, with bad planning, you're going to execute poorly, aren't you?
To pack shit up. The board of directors of Fragbyte Group AB have today, May 23rd, resolved to declare bankruptcy for its subsidiary
That sucks.
Fall Damage. The ongoing process of entering into an agreement with a publisher for the game Alara Prime has not yet been completed, which has led to an unsustainable financial situation for Fall Damage.
So nobody even wanted to buy it.
Fragbyte Group owns Fall Damage, and Fall Damage's responsibility on top of developing the game was to also shop it around to potential publishers.
See
to
that
look
again?
for somebody who might be.
Big Fry saying, like, people compare it to other shooters. It's got CS:GO vibes. It's got the hero element, kind of a little bit like Valorant. And then even with this is almost like, again, a really basic version of what you can do in Siege, isn't it? But Siege is just like smashes it out the park when it comes to like bullet penetration and damage and stuff.
Interested in footing the bill to get this game done, and unfortunately they couldn't get that done. Now here's where the story kind of falls apart a little bit for me.
It's not like you're going to really create good peak holes with that because it's in specific areas. You're not going to be able to create the lines of sight that you can create in Siege because of the whole map. Well, majority of the map, you're being able to do those sort of things. That's just one bottleneck, one choke point that you can do that with. There's probably a few of them around the map, but you know.
I met with the developers and I've spoken to them multiple times. I've played in multiple playtests, and I've always felt that throughout every playtest I've played, it felt like progress was kind of at a snail's pace. We always had 2 maps that were completed and like visually done. And then we had 2 maps that were always seemingly in a white box state. And during this bankruptcy filing that happened back in May, it blows my mind. The book value of fall damage will be written down to 0 in the parent company's balance sheet, which is expected to have a negative impact on the group's results of
Maps even have a
39
Valorant CSGO kind of feel to them.
Swedish kronas, which if you do the math, that's about a 3.7 million US dollar loss on this game and this company. And keep in mind, this news comes out only 7 months after Fragbyte officially acquired Fall Damage in a deal with an upfront fee of $1.9 million.
That's got to be seriously bad planning, to be buying an IP to within months later being in the position that you're in. You know, that's just lack of foresight there.
So I'm guessing that 3.7 also includes the 1.9 million acquisition, but I'm wondering, like, where's the $3.7 million worth of value here? That is what I am trying to figure out. According to LinkedIn, Fall Damage is around 51 to 200 employees. Take it on the exact low end. If you're paying 51 employees salary, like, I can definitely see.
I'll take it to things like overheads, though, isn't it? This is where bad planning comes in for a lot of corporations. They'll employ too many people for one. You'll have a bunch of people that are not actually doing a job. You know, Twitter's like the perfect example of that, isn't he? You know, whatever you think of Twitter and whatever you think of Elon Musk got rid of so many people at Twitter. What was it, like 80% of people that work there or something like that, chat? And it still works, doesn't it? So it shows that a lot of those people's jobs were redundant. And I think there's a lot of that in gaming. And we had an explosion of dev team sizes, didn't we? Post-COVID. And it's retracted the gaming industry as over the last 12 to 18 months, hasn't it? And that's not even taken into overheads. This is where I say bad planning comes in, where a lot of companies buy expensive premises that they really don't need, that have premium rent and land tax and whatever you might be.
Where this money comes from. But if you're paying these people that much money and spending this much money acquiring the rights, like, how was this product not further along at this point? From what I'm seeing and from what I can play right now in this video, you spent 1.9 to acquire. Out of the 3.7, that leaves $1.8 million spent.
Poor planning.
Where? I can't actually fathomably put that into my brain that this cost them $3.7 million. So while I'm super sympathetic for the developers, and while I'm super sad that this game will most likely never come to fruition in the way that
I think it's quite indicative, though, if they couldn't find somebody to buy the IP. I suppose all people who may be looking to buy the IP looked, well, you only bought it 7 months ago and you're making a massive loss. I don't know if we want to risk it.
It should, and in the way that I wished it would. I completely understand why somebody looking at the book balance and seeing $3.7 million
such a hard space to get into as well.
Here, you know, a bunch of
when
guns,
you got Valorant and CS,
2 completed maps, and a release date nowhere in sight. Like, I get it. I completely understand the business side of it. This is one of those things where I'm not even mad at the business side. Like, I'm more looking into it while I'm kind of like working through this video. I totally get it. What I wish I had the money to do is to go into this conversation, buy the IP, bring those devs to the table and be like, okay, what the fuck went wrong? How do you fix it? And if, like, I would love to be.
See, even that, it like, you know, you look at this buy screen here. How can you not compare it to CS and Valorant? You know, you've got like semi-hero sort of classes here, but then you've got your traditional buy screen with your gadgets. I don't know how you exactly unlock them. I'm not too sure if it's with credits or what, or I don't know, but it's very reminiscent. And like I say, once again, getting into that space is fucking hard.
Be able to to be in the call to bring this game to fruition, because I do think after all the playtesting that I've done on it, it does have a spot in today's market, and I think it could get an actual player base if they were to do things right. We just never saw them get to the point where they have things like progression, cosmetics, and everything else that you need to compete in today's market. They couldn't even get there, and I'm very curious as to why.
I think to compete in the market with things like Valorant and that, though, you've got to have a solid core gameplay first.
Another game shelved completely. Yesterday's video was about Boundary and how that game is shutting down 14 months after an early access launch.
You might check that video out.
Now we have a $3.7 million financial situation that has resulted in the closing of Fall Damage and subsequently their game, Alara Prime. I think it really just goes to show you how unsustainable indie development is when it comes to making multiplayer titles. It's just an expensive insane amount of risk in an oversaturated market where everybody and their dog are making multiplayer titles.
Look at the amount of big companies that have failed at it. Ubisoft have had a few tries, you know. EA got along with Respawn, I guess. Ubisoft are trying again, I guess, with X-Defiant, but they're seeing how hard that is even with that. It's a hard space to get into, especially the FPS genre as a whole, but I think that the tactical hardcore shooters even harder to get into.
You just have to compete or you die very quickly and very painfully.
And once it starts as well, that bleed out, it's it, isn't it? Once the player base starts to go, stops people coming into the game, stops people staying. You check Steam charts or you check whatever and you're like, damn, guess I won't even bothering to download that then.
In this space. And I mean, when you think about the fact that like these guys are industry veterans, they have contacts, and even they couldn't find the contacts to make this game a reality and find publishers and financing, like that's super like unmotivating. I'll say that. I wish this game ended up different. I'm glad that I got a chance to play it as much as I did. I'm kind of kicking myself now that I didn't play more of it when I had the opportunities to. I was essentially just kind of waiting for the game to be in a much better and further along developed state. But unfortunately, at this point, we're not going to get there. My name is Big Bri. Thank you guys for watching, and this has been Alara Prime.
Well, you should definitely check out Big Fry. You know, I think going into that space anyway is hard. Doing it as an indie developer, and obviously bad planning is only going to lead to one way, isn't he? Yeah, a lot of Prime's dead. To be fair, I forgot it even existed. I didn't know what this was on about, actually. I do remember it now. I think I might have seen a video, actually, of Big Fry talking about it. But even then, when I looked at it, I was like, it's all right, I guess. Can't see it competing, though. I really can't.